Hello, I'm Kay. I'm here to help you navigate the business side of art in a way that actually makes sense. We'll decode the business lingo, unravel marketing mysteries, and pave a clear path for you to thrive both creatively and financially. So grab your favorite brush, a fresh canvas, or just a cup of coffee. Welcome to the Artist's Guide to Business. Hello, artists, and welcome to the Artist's Guide to Business today. Today, we are going to talk about customer journeys. So to get us started, tell me if you have ever had this experience, because it's a really common challenge for a lot of artists. It's like we throw our art in all the different directions in the world, some over here on social media, maybe at a coffee shop, maybe at a market, maybe at a nonprofit fundraiser. We just keep throwing our art everywhere we can. And who knows, maybe we have a website that sits quietly in the corner. We wonder then why we're exhausted, but we're not seeing the results we want. And we end up feeling like we're constantly chasing new clients, always starting from scratch and always in hustle mode. But here's what happens when you understand something called your customer journey. Suddenly, you start building connections that last for years. You create an ecosystem and a plan and a structure where past clients can naturally become repeat collectors. They can easily find and fall in love with your work, like even while you're sleeping. And your career starts feeling a lot more sustainable than exhausting. And you know what's really interesting? Just this past week, I had 4 different past clients reach out to me, and 2 of them I haven't heard from in years. So it's really a powerful thing when you start thinking about your customer journey and creating it so that it's very comfortable and very accessible for people to reach out to you again when the timing is right in their life. You know, at the same time, I had someone comment on my post just the other day that in this economy, no one is buying pet portraits. And meanwhile, I had past clients, they had sent me emails, both looking for pet portraits. So it's sort of this idea of, you know, how does it make your business easier in the long run? And it helps you to understand what your efforts are that you're doing for marketing and everything. Okay, so let's talk about really quick understanding your customer's journey. So I know that when we hear terms like customer journey, it can start to feel really corporate or businessy. I don't really want to think about this. This doesn't fit with my natural creative vibes and flows and whatever. And I totally get it. I really do. But here is the strength in knowing about these terms and understanding them in your business practice. The strength is once you understand how they work, you can apply them to your business no matter what your business looks like. So it's like the root, right? If we understand what a customer journey is, we'll look at the root of it, we'll look at the stem of it and the leaves of it, you know, and then you can apply that to your business, and they'll all look different according to your business and to the things you offer and everything. But the roots and that structure are what are so valuable to know. Does that make sense? Because if you think about any sort of business practice, philosophy, whatever, what is the word I'm looking for? Any sort of business principle. But if you know that and you understand it, you can apply it to your business when you decide to take it down the route of doing wholesale note cards, or you can apply it to your business when you decide to go for high-end gallery sales, right? They all work together or work in a similar way, but they just look different. And I know this because I've done a lot of different types of art businesses. And so I've been able to really clue into what are the most important ones for artists to know as you develop different types of artistic businesses. And it's actually a super powerful thing to know for artists at any stage in your business and no matter what you're doing. So again, like whether you're selling at farmers markets or you're doing pet portraits, you're teaching sip and paints, or just getting started with your art business, knowing this is going to make your life a lot easier. But it's also kind of fun is the thing too. Like I love customer journeys. They're really fun. So why do they matter so much? A customer journey matters a lot because when we understand how people go from first discovering our art to actually becoming collectors, we can make better decisions about everything. We can figure out where we show our work, to how to price it, and what to say in our emails. And here's something really important to understand too. This customer journey, it's not always a neat linear process. People might disappear for a while. They might discover your work, then you won't hear from them for years and think, oh, well, they obviously weren't that interested in it. Or they might see your art and buy it immediately and disappear, and you never talk to them again, even though they loved it so much in that first engagement. Some people might skip stages entirely, and others might move back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and that's all totally normal. We just want to understand the journey so that we can support people no matter where they are in the process of, interacting with you and your business. So, let's break this down into something that actually makes sense for artists. We are going to look at the 5 main stages people go through from first discovering your art to becoming such a fan that they tell all their friends about you. So the first stage is awareness. This is when someone first discovers that you and your art exist. At this stage, people are usually either actively looking for art, or they might stumble upon it unexpectedly. Let's break down what is happening in this stage. People are forming their very first impressions of your work. They're trying to understand what kind of artist you are, and they're deciding if they want to even get to know you or learn more. So, for example, I have one of the clients that reached out this week that I haven't talked to in a while. The first time they discovered my work was actually at a charity auction for a nonprofit that I care about. And I don't always recommend that artists get too overly excited about charity auctions. And that's a weird take, but a lot of times, it can draw not quite the right crowd or something. There's more nuance. We'll talk about that another time. But this scenario was really cool because my painting was one of the auction items, and it was sort of one of the bigger auction items. And this couple from back east, I live in Montana, they really love this organization, and they bid on that painting and they won it from their home, thousands of miles away. Now, normally in most of my experience, when that happens, that's kind of it. See you later. Bye to the painting. That's all she wrote. And you feel good because you helped your organization raise money, but that's about it. However, in this scenario, these folks actually reached out to me and formed a connection with me, and that was really cool. So that is one discovery place that happened that was unexpected, but it did lead to a long-term relationship. For pet portrait artists, maybe it's when someone sees your work hanging in their friend's house. Or if you're a farmer's market artist, think about that discovery moment when someone stops at your booth for the very first time. Or I suppose for sip and paint instructors or class instructors, it might be when someone sees their friend post a picture of themselves at your sip and paint, or they share the event, So there's all different ways discovery can happen. And especially it can happen on social media. That's a big one. So, what's funny is a lot of times we focus all of our energy on this stage, kind of what I just said, posting constantly on social media or trying to get our art in front of new people. Maybe one of the biggest myths that anyone has been sold in the last 10 or 15 years of the internet and social media is that to be a successful business person, whether that's art, whether that's whatever, you need a gigantic audience on these social platforms. That is not true. And so you want to just be aware of that. That platform has its purpose, and it fits into a few different areas too, or a few different stages of the customer journey. We'll talk about that. But yeah, it just... having an audience or that outreach and reaching new people through social media is just this very first stage in your customer's journey, right? It's just the beginning. And let me show you why, okay? The second stage is consideration. This is when someone is like, you know what? I'm actually interested in this artist and I want to know a little bit more. And they start considering, right? They start researching. They might want to see more examples of your work or understand your process. They might want to get a sense of your pricing or figure out, if you're the right fit to work with. This is when things like an email list can be helpful, but a website is especially important. Your website kind of acts like a digital center or gallery where when they're considering you, they can go and they can read about you, see your other work. They can get all that information that they are starting to be curious about. Think of it as that kind of broader picture. It's also worth noting, too, someone might find you through, who knows, a marketplace or anywhere they might discover you. Sometimes your social media is also part of their consideration phase. I do that for some companies as far as like, well, do I? I don't know. I used to. But, you can use social media like as a way to kind of make sure a company is human, I guess. I don't really know anymore how much I use it for that, but people do. And it's where like if they're considering you and they're trying to like get a feel for who you are and what you do, they may go to your social media. And then your website is also a big piece of that. So keep that all in mind. Also, as far as like email list goes, if you have an email list set up and you have a welcome sequence, that's a great time for giving them some information that helps in this consideration phase. But remember, it's not necessarily linear and you're not trying to like force people through these steps, but just keep them in mind, okay? And sometimes, like most of the time, people are not ready to buy yet, but this is where they're staying engaged, right? This is where personal connection really matters. So if they send you an email, if they send you a DM, if they comment on your post, if they talk to you at the farmer's market and they start asking you questions, these kind of casual conversations are really important. Or if they start kind of just showing up, wherever you are, make sure that you're nurturing that and you're answering any questions they have and you're being generous, basically, because again, they're considering their options, if they like art, if they need a specific art piece, all of that. Okay. So for example, I had one of the other clients that reached out this week. She met me. So my discovery phase with her was at a live wedding painting at a wedding. I was live wedding painting at a wedding and she saw me. She was just a guest and she came up and started having a conversation with me. That was sort of our discovery phase. And then when I mentioned that I do pet portraits, that actually moved her into more of a consideration phase, right? That's when she clued in and was like, oh, we have a lot of family members with dogs that they really love. And so she started considering things. And then I gave her, I believe, my business card. This was quite some years ago. So I would assume that's how I kept in touch with her. But I gave her my business card or my website address or anything. I might have even found out that's how it happened. So I realized she was interested in pet portraiture. And I asked her, hey, why don't you give me my email or give me your email address and I will reach out to you with more information. And then that same week when I got home, I sent her my PDF information with all the pricing about pet portraits and the process and all of that. So that was her consideration phase. We moved her through that. And also you'll notice I was more proactive about it than just but she was clearly interested in pet portraits. It wasn't like, oh, I do pet portraits and I do other things too. Hey, can I have your email? She was very much like, oh, you do pet portraits. Interesting. Well, my son has this, and I was like, oh, okay, this woman is definitely interested and she's in the consideration phase. Let me give her the resources that she needs to make this a consideration or decision. Does that make sense, you guys? So If you've also ever listened to, I believe it was episode 10, and I'll link to it in the notes, it's all about building an email list and being somewhat proactive. So you know how important this stage is. It's where people can really start to get to know your work. Let's talk about the third stage, which is the decision-making stage. This is when someone moves from being interested to actually taking action. So at this point, your customers need to have really clear information about how to work with you or how to buy from you. So any sort of confusion here is not a great spot for you to put your customers in. They want to feel really confident in the choice they're making. So things like other testimonials or social proof or anything that just builds up their confidence in the decision they're making to work with you is going to benefit them in this situation. And then they also are going to want things like knowing exactly what they're going to get, knowing what's going to happen after they say yes, any sort of clarifying, information around your interaction with them and them taking action to buy from you or commission you. And a lot of times we assume people know how to buy from us. Like we think, oh, they just know that they should send us an email or something, or they should know to go to the website or whatever. But sometimes it's actually not that clear. So being very clear about the exact step someone needs to take is very helpful for them in this stage. Like, for example, when I have people who are interested in live wedding painting, they're doing those initial stages. They're considering things. They're getting a lot of information thrown at them. However, I'm always very clear. The next step for you to take is to send me the deposit, right? I have this link for you. When you go to that link and you pay the deposit, then we can move on to talking about details, etc. I'm very clear about it. And I don't say, yeah, so if you decide this is something you want to do, let me know. That's not it, you guys. That's never going to work. You want to be very clear. Hey, if you decide that this is right for you, here's a link to pay that deposit and secure your date. It's as simple as that. A lot of times as artists, we feel like that's pushy and we don't want to pressure someone. We're scared that we're doing that. But don't think of it that way, because if they want to make this purchase, after reviewing all the materials you've given them, after considering all the other options, and they want to purchase with you and they want to move ahead with you, it's an exciting thing. Don't wrap it in shame. If you put your own shame on it, it's going to taint their experience, right? Does that make sense? It's an exciting moment for them. They're interacting with an artist. They're buying art. So be very clear and direct and help them know how to move forward. And then also a lot of people in these stages, they'll have what's called a quiet hesitation, where they know they want it, but then they're all of a sudden wondering will this painting look right in my space? Or is this worth the price? So that's also where you want to really support them with testimonials or any sort of behind the scenes information, reassurances, maybe return policies, anything that helps them reduce the risk of this purchase is going to be beneficial in this stage of the customer journey. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. And then the fourth stage is retention. Now, this is where a lot of artists completely drop the ball. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call you out on it, but it's just true. And it's also something I have done a lot. But then when I discovered the power of this phase in your customer journey, I put a lot of effort into it. Okay. So before you think about customer retention, you're always out there trying to find new clients, right? To the point where you forget about nurturing relationships with your existing clients. At this stage in the customer journey, your customers, they want to stay connected with you and your work. They want to feel valued as a collector. They want to know about new work opportunities. There's a couple of artists who I've really enjoyed watching, grow their skills and grow up. I guess I'm a little older these days, so there's a lot of younger people than me all of a sudden. And I have supported earlier parts of their journey, but the only way to keep in touch with them is if I'm on social media looking for them. And I don't like social media that much as far as like being on there very often. I do like it. I'm starting to float. I'm starting to turn over, and I really like seeing all of your guys' work and seeing what you're posting. So that part is fun for me. But I'm saying, as someone who's already spent $300 to $500 with artists, I would love an email. It doesn't have to be only to me, but just, a quarterly email or whatever to just fill me in on the cool stuff they're doing. Because when someone buys with you, when someone is a customer of yours, a lot of times they're choosing to invest in you. And so it's really wonderful to share with them what that investment looks like over time, right? It makes them feel like they are a part of your artistic journey. And then, I think about it, it can be anything as simple as like sending a thank you note after they purchase, or honestly, like checking in a year later to see how a piece is working in the space. Things like that can turn people from one-time customers into huge fans of yours. For a while with my live wedding paintings, I was sending 1 year, congratulatory, like, hey, it was 1 year ago that we made this painting and you guys got married. And that was fun, but it was kind of hard to organize. And also, I realized that some marriages aren't going to last, and I don't know how to keep up with that. So I stopped doing it because that would be very uncomfortable for everyone involved if it, anyway, you get it. But Christmas, holiday cards can be really nice. I don't know, just ways, like an email is so easy and such a great way to connect with long-term clients. And then also, when people feel connected to you as an artist, they will naturally share your work with others. They will talk about you to their friends. They might be proud to be on the inside circle of an artist. And that's how we move people from just keeping clients to actually turning them into advocates. Now, before I go on to talk about that phase, which is advocates, I want to say one more thing about the retention phase, and also how this isn't necessarily nonlinear and you can't always tell how things are going to go. So remember how I was telling you about the woman who I met at the wedding and she ended up becoming a pet portrait client? So after that wedding, she ordered one pet portrait. I delivered it. She was blown away. And then 2 months go by, she ordered a second one for a different family member and loved it. I was very proud of these pieces. It was such a good interaction. At that time, I had her on my newsletter. So she was receiving emails from me every week talking about being an artist and, kind of these like insightful personal reflections and all this. But on those emails, I did include a little unsubscribe from the weekly newsletter link so that they could unsubscribe from weekly newsletters, but stay on my email list in case of bigger announcements like, openings for commissions and things like that. Since then, I have devoted a lot of energy to this business, and I have also had an injury. I don't need to bring this up every time, but anyway, I let that email list or that email nurture, whatever, pewter out big time. And this is what's so interesting. I remember being a little bit bummed out when she unsubscribed from my weekly email newsletter. I was like, oh, I thought, that Linda would like this stuff. Oh, it would make her feel connected, but that's okay. I get it. Email inboxes, they fill up and whatever. The way she reached out to me, I'm not kidding you, this is like 2 years later. The way she reached out was finding that last email newsletter that she received and hitting reply and saying, hey, Kay, how you doing? I'd like to order a pet portrait. Are you too busy or can we do it? Like, isn't that awesome, you guys? So even though she unsubscribed from that list, she was still connected, and it made this really easy point of entry or point of re-entry for her. Does that make sense? And then, of course, I responded and said, wow, it's great to hear from you. Never too busy for old clients. I didn't say it like that, but you know what I'm saying. And then, yeah, so that's how you can kind of like think about that retaining power of long-term client relationships. They can pop out of nowhere and commission a piece of work from you. And also, a lot of times it seems to happen when, you need to buy a new set of snow tires. It's just kind of magical. And that is the description. And that is how you build a more easeful art business right there. Okay, the last stage of your customer journey is what's called advocacy. So this is when your collectors become your cheerleaders and they tell everybody else about your work. They share your posts. They bring their friends to the market just to come check out your booth. They're just really all about you. And for this stage to happen, people need to feel genuinely excited about your work. They want to have really easy ways to share your work with others. So sharing, again, this is where social media can be a great thing. They might want to share something that you post with their friends, or if they feel really connected to like you and your story and the story of the two of you and the relationship you've built over time, they're going to enjoy telling people about that too. Yeah, like I had an artist there for a while. I loved her work. I was really enjoying buying work from her to give as presents because it was a really fun story to tell, like, oh, this artist is so-and-so and she lives in blah, blah, blah. I don't want to give away any details, but and she's like this, and I really appreciate the way she thinks about this. And so this is why her art looks like this. And I thought you would really like that too. Do you see how I, as a fan, as a client, really enjoyed having a neat conversation piece or a neat way to contextualize and tell my friends about her? So that's what you want to think about. When my customers become my cheerleaders, how do I support them in telling other people about me and about their experience with me, right? That's it. Because if they have a great experience with you, they're going to want to tell other people about it. All right. Welcome back. Now, let's start making this super practical for you. So I want to walk you through exactly how to map out your own customer journey and how you might spot opportunities that maybe you're already missing. So grab something to write with. You can do it right now as long as you're not driving. Also, I am going to add a form to this. So check in the show notes. There will be a link somewhere to get this as a free worksheet. So if you would like to do this with a worksheet, I will make that available to you. Because like I said, I think customer journeys are probably one of the most powerful pieces of your business. And I also think they're kind of fun to create. And I have taken courses on customer journeys, and I took one, and the whole time, all she did was talk about how important they are and how they're useful, but never gave the how do I actually build it out? So after going through a lot of my own experiments and doing it for multiple businesses on my end and for clients, I've come up with a pretty straightforward way to at least enter the thinking of it or to start brainstorming around it and come up with some fun plans. But essentially, the first thing we're going to do in that worksheet, or you can do it on your own, think about awareness. So think about the last 3 sales you had or the last 3 interactions you had with art lovers or potential clients, and then write down or at least consider, how did they find you? Where were you? Where were they? Where did they see your work? Were they actively looking for work? Or did they find you by chance? Was it someone that told them about it, right? And also, if you can have a conversation with them, ask what caught your attention. What was the first thing that you noticed that made you aware that this was something worth considering? Think about it if you see a woman or a man in a coffee shop and then they see a piece of art on the wall and they have to walk up right to it, right? That's that they got caught and they're curious and they're going to go explore and they're going to look at it. That's an awareness, right? It's not the person in the coffee shop who's just la 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 and doesn't even notice the work. That's not awareness. And then also, for pet portraits, did a friend recommend you? Was it a market at a booth? Was it a social media post or an event? Did they see it in someone else's house? So take some time to think about, where did my last clients or anyone who's interacted with my work, where did they first become aware of my artwork and me as an artist? Next, start considering consideration. So if you have people who have purchased from you, How long did they follow you before buying? What kind of questions did they ask? How did they stay in touch? What information seemed the most important to them? And if you don't have a lot of sales, imagine this. You can still come up with the answers to these questions by imagining a person going through this journey. As you do it, you may find that you imagined a little thing wrong here and there, but it at least gives you a starting point. And then for decision making, there's always an impetus, like there's something that prompts them to buy. So what was it? Was it a special occasion? Was there some piece of key specific information they needed to move forward? What concerns did they have? Those kind of questions. And then for retention, right? Look at your past clients from the last year. How many have you stayed in touch with? And there's no judgment here. Also, the beauty of being an artist or being a person in business is you can always reach out again. But then ask yourself, how many have you stayed in touch with? Just be honest. It's neutral. There's no judgment. And then also, how many people have bought from you more than once? Because that can be a really good indicator of how they're feeling in that retention phase. You can think about things like what kind of updates might you send them, or what are some fun ways to keep them in the loop. And then finally, you want to think about that advocacy. So have any of your clients referred others to you? Do they share your work on social media or tag their friends' names in the posts? Do past clients bring friends to your shows or to your markets? Things like that. I also, will send past clients like a thing that's like, send this to your friend. And if they order a commission, you each get whatever, right? And make a nice little graphic. Forward this email to anyone you know who's a pet lover. Things like that. I always like to think about it as if someone is advocating for you, if they're cheering for you, if they're being a cheerleader, give them into their hands or their inboxes, their digital hands. Give them everything they could possibly need and use to cheer for you and to spread the word about you, because that is the best kind of marketing out there. And so you want to support it as much as you can. And then let's look over some things that you might discover and what to do about it, okay? So if you've been in business for a while and you notice that people discover you, but they don't follow up, maybe try creating an irresistible reason to join your email list, or take photos with buyers to share later so that you can show what it looks like to have a successful buying experience. Maybe offer a small thank you discount on their next purchase. If you see long gaps between discovery and purchase, consider offering different price points or adding payment plans to things. Create a way to stay in touch. Again, listen to episode 10 talking about email lists. And if you have lots of one-time buyers, but not very many repeat collectors, consider sending out somewhat regular updates with new work, or offering collector previews, or sending personal notes about pieces that match their interests. Things like that, And here's the most important part. Just pick one thing to improve this week. That's one, just one, maybe that's it. Let's not worry about fixing everything, but it's fun. And honestly, as a creative and as an artist, you might be able to sit down and draw yourself a fun treasure map, and ask yourself okay, where is all my art in the world? And where's all the discovery points? And then imagine, okay, once they hit a discovery point here, where's the next point that they go? And, how might it all come together? Right? So just have some fun with it. Think about it. Yeah, it's enjoyable. I don't know. I hope you guys think it's enjoyable too. Because again, what's so amazing is you can apply this to any business model or any products that you're selling, right? The goal is not to be perfect to everyone on the planet all at once. but it's to start understanding how people are connecting with your art and you uniquely, and then making it easier for them to stay connected with you. Let's wrap this up with something super important. Your customer journey should feel authentic to you and your art. And that's the whole point, right? Like, that's what I'm saying about all of this. The next time, or the next episode, or at least some episode in the future, I want to talk about how to apply all of these stages to your website. So it's kind of cool to break it down and understand it, because over your business, you may change the products you're selling. You may change the focuses you have, but if you have this knowledge, whenever you make that change, you'll be able to update your website really easily. But for now, and today or this week, just keep focusing on understanding the overall journey and what it looks like. Remember that every great customer-collector relationship, it starts somewhere. Whether, again, in person, at a farmer's market, or whether it's through a recommendation from a friend, whether it's on a coffee shop wall. Really understanding how people find and connect with your art is the first step to building stronger relationships with your collectors. But that is just the beginning, right? You want to make sure you're always thinking about the next steps. All right, you guys, if you found this helpful, I would love to hear from you. So feel free to send me an email at hello@theartistsguidetobusiness.com. And if you know another artist who might really benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Again, check the notes for a link to that episode 10, and also for a link to a free worksheet for building your own customer journey. Yeah, I'll have to make that more. I'll have to clean it up, but I'll clean it up the best I can, and then I'll put it up when I publish this. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you next time when we dive into how to make your website work harder for you by supporting every stage of your customer journey. Have a great week and keep creating. Did you enjoy what you just watched? If you want more, head to www.theartistsguidetobusiness.com and sign up for our email newsletter so that you can get great content like this delivered to your inbox weekly, plus exclusive invites to office hours, challenges, and more.